Have you ever wondered why we yawn, laugh, dream, or suddenly feel like you've experienced a moment before? Humans do some genuinely strange things every single day. The surprising part is that scientists don't have all the answers. So today, we're exploring 7 weird human behaviours and why we think they happen. Let's start with one of the strangest experiences almost everyone has had. Déjà vu, that eerie feeling that you've lived through a moment before, even though you know you haven't. The phrase itself is French for already seen, and around 2/3 of people will experience it at least once in their lives. But what actually causes it? The truth is, nobody knows for certain. Scientists have several compelling theories, but no single explanation has been proven. One of the leading ideas is that it's simply a tiny glitch in the brain's memory system. For a split second, your brain accidentally files what's happening right now as an old memory instead of a brand new experience. So instead of feeling new, it feels strangely familiar. Another theory suggests it's caused by almost identical situations. Perhaps you've unknowingly experienced something very similar before: the lighting, the conversation, the smell. Your brain recognizes the pattern without you consciously remembering where from. That creates the powerful illusion that you've somehow been here before. Thankfully, déjà vu isn't usually anything to worry about. In healthy people, it's considered a completely normal quirk of how our brains process memories. Although, it certainly doesn't make it feel any less strange when it happens. Kissing seems perfectly normal, until you stop and think about it. Why would 2 people decide that pressing their lips together is a good idea? The answer is surprisingly complicated. Scientists think kissing may have evolved as a way of assessing a potential partner. Our mouths and noses can detect an incredible amount of chemical information. Without even realizing it, a kiss may help us judge everything from health to genetic compatibility. Kissing also triggers a remarkable chemical reaction inside the brain. It releases dopamine, associated with pleasure and reward, oxytocin, often called the bonding hormone, and serotonin, which can influence our mood. In other words, your brain is doing everything it can to convince you that this person is rather special. But here's where it gets even stranger. Not every culture kisses romantically. While it's common across much of the world today, anthropologists have found societies where romantic kissing was traditionally rare or didn't exist at all. That suggests kissing isn't purely instinctive. Culture has played a role too. So the next time you kiss someone, just remember, your brain is running millions of years of evolutionary programming, while your culture has been quietly adding its own instructions on top. Here's a strange question. Why can't you remember being a baby? You probably remember your first day at school, your childhood home, maybe even your first pet. So where did the first few years go? This phenomenon is known as infantile amnesia. Almost nobody can remember events from before the age of about 3. Not because those memories never existed, but because your brain was still under construction. The part of the brain responsible for forming long-term memories, called the hippocampus, is still developing during early childhood. At the same time, your brain is growing at an astonishing rate. New connections are constantly being made, and old ones are reorganized. Many scientists think this rapid rewiring makes those earliest memories incredibly difficult to preserve. There's another reason too. As babies, we haven't fully developed language yet. Without words to organize our experiences into stories, our memories become much harder to store and retrieve later in life. So those first years weren't empty at all. They shaped who you became, even if you can no longer remember living through them. We spend around a third of our lives asleep, and for much of that time, our brains create entire worlds that don't exist. So why do we dream? The honest answer is, we're still not entirely sure. Scientists have several compelling theories, but no single explanation has won the argument. One idea is that dreams help us process memories. As we sleep, the brain sorts through everything we've experienced during the day, deciding what to keep and what to quietly throw away. Another theory suggests dreams allow us to rehearse difficult situations. By simulating threats, challenges, or emotional events in a safe environment, our brains may be preparing us for real life. Whatever their purpose, dreams can be remarkably creative. Many famous ideas are said to have come from dreams, including scientific discoveries, pieces of music, and even stories. It seems that while we're asleep, our brains are still hard at work making unexpected connections. Of course, that doesn't explain why you occasionally dream about turning up to work wearing nothing but a pirate hat, but perhaps some mysteries are best left unsolved. Have you ever yawned simply because someone else did, or even because somebody mentioned yawning? If so, you're not alone. For years, people believed yawning happened because our brains needed more oxygen. It sounds sensible, but experiments have shown that isn't actually true. Today, one of the leading theories is that yawning helps cool the brain. Much like a radiator helps cool a car engine, a yawn may help keep your brain working efficiently. But the really strange part is that yawning can be contagious. Seeing someone yawn, hearing someone yawn, even reading about yawning can trigger one yourself. Scientists think this may be linked to empathy. People who are more emotionally connected are often more likely to catch each other's yawns. Even dogs have been shown to yawn after watching their owners. So if you've yawned during this section, congratulations, your brain has just fallen victim to one of the world's most contagious behaviours. And no, you probably weren't even tired. Laughter feels completely natural. We do it with friends, at funny films, and sometimes at the worst possible moment. But why do we laugh in the first place? Just like dreams, scientists don't think there's a single answer. Instead, laughter appears to serve several important purposes. One of the biggest is social bonding. When we laugh together, our brains release chemicals that help us feel closer to one another. It's one reason why sharing a joke often feels better than laughing alone. Laughter may also have evolved as a way of signaling safety. Imagine our distant ancestors hearing a strange noise in the bushes. If it turned out to be nothing, laughter could quickly communicate to everyone else that the danger had passed. In other words, it's okay, we can all relax. Perhaps the strangest thing about laughter is how contagious it is. Hearing someone else laugh can trigger the same response in your own brain, even if you don't know what they're laughing about. That's why television sitcoms have used laugh tracks for decades. Whether we like to admit it or not, they actually work surprisingly well. So the next time you find yourself laughing uncontrollably, remember, your brain isn't just enjoying a joke, it's strengthening one of humanity's oldest social superpowers. We've all had them. They arrive without warning. They refuse to leave. And somehow, everyone seems to know a different cure. But why do we get hiccups? A hiccup happens when your diaphragm, the large muscle that helps you breathe, suddenly contracts without your permission. Your vocal cords then snap shut, creating that familiar hic. Most hiccups are triggered by something harmless. Eating too quickly, drinking fizzy drinks, swallowing too much air, or even getting a little too excited. But here's the strange part. Scientists aren't entirely sure why the reflex still exists. One fascinating theory suggests it's an evolutionary leftover from our distant ancestors. Some researchers believe the hiccup reflex resembles the breathing pattern of ancient amphibians, long before our ancestors ever walked on land. As for all those home remedies, holding your breath, drinking water upside down, or asking someone to scare you, there's surprisingly little scientific evidence that any of them work consistently. In most cases, the hiccups simply stop on their own. So the next time you get hiccups, just remember, you might be experiencing a tiny evolutionary relic from hundreds of millions of years ago. The human body is an astonishingly strange piece of engineering. Even the things we do every single day still hold mysteries that science is trying to unravel. If you enjoyed this little journey into human behaviour, don't forget to subscribe, and until next time, stay curious.